What if the secrets to modern medicine were buried not in a lab, but in the ancient rainforests, millions of years ago?
This is the story of our ancestors' forgotten pharmacy, and its first, most brilliant doctors. In a world of sharpened stone and bone, injury was not a matter of if, but when. A simple cut, left untreated, could mean a slow, agonizing death from infection. Survival depended on knowledge.
The first step, passed down through 1,000 generations, cleanliness. A simple but revolutionary concept.
Her pharmacy was the forest itself, its secrets carefully gathered, cataloged, and stored for days like this.
She chose a specific moss, known for its ability to absorb blood and, more importantly, to keep a wound clean.
This wasn't magic, it was science. The moss contained natural antiseptic properties, a primitive but effective antibiotic. The wound was cleaned, treated, and protected. A life, in all likelihood, had just been saved. But how did she know? How did our ancestors, in a world without books or laboratories?
Before sophisticated knowledge, there was raw curiosity. A dangerous, vital spark.
Hunger and curiosity often led to a gamble, a bite that could nourish, or a mouthful of poison. The body's immediate reaction was the first, most brutal teacher. A warning, often too late.
Trial and error came with deadly consequences. Each mistake etched into their collective memory.
The healer's knowledge wasn't just about cures, but diagnostics. Understanding the poison was the first step to finding its antidote. But every poison had a counter. Sometimes, the antidote grew right beside the danger. A race against time. The antidote had to be prepared quickly before the poison took hold. A gamble of a different kind. Trusting ancient wisdom, hoping for a miracle. Slowly, painstakingly, the medicine took hold. Another life reclaimed from the brink.
Each bitter lesson, each hard-won cure was meticulously recorded, passed down, and built upon.
But not all threats came from the outside. Sickness from within, like a persistent cough.
When their own knowledge failed, they turned to a different kind of wisdom. They looked to nature's silent teachers, the animals themselves. They knew that animals, through millennia of instinct, possessed their own deep knowledge of the forest's pharmacy.
And then, she saw it. A mirror of her clan's own suffering in the animal world.
The sick animal did not eat for hunger. It ate for healing, selectively choosing a single, bitter plant.
This was the critical moment of discovery. The healer's mind, a vast and living library.
Days later, she returned and saw the proof. The cough was gone. The ibex was healed. The animal's wisdom had been confirmed.
She gathered the plant with newfound confidence. A potential cure, a gift of knowledge from the unlikeliest of teachers. She prepared the medicine, not for eating, but as a chest rub, its powerful aroma a clue to its purpose.
And it worked. Another secret of the earth, unlocked not by chance, but by patient, intelligent observation.
The healer's mind was a library of 1,000 cures, a lifetime of knowledge. And so, the time came to pass on the sacred knowledge, to choose an apprentice, to ensure.
The lessons were not in words, but in a silent language of gesture, of scent, of touch.
The most important lessons were not just what to pick, but what not to pick. A single mistake could be the last. It was not enough to find the plant. One had to know how to unlock its power.
And how did they remember it all? Their knowledge was not written in books, but painted on the walls of their world.
Each painting, a chapter. Each symbol, a story. This was their textbook, their encyclopedia. The student is tested. The knowledge is proven. The chain of wisdom has been successfully passed. And so, the apprentice takes her first step. The cycle continues. The knowledge is safe for another generation.
A chain, stretching back into the mists of time. An unbroken line of wisdom.
With knowledge came confidence. And with confidence, the clan could hunt larger, more dangerous.
Their strategy was not a blind charge, but a calculated, coordinated attack designed to isolate a single target from the strength of the herd. But a wounded beast is the most dangerous of all. Their plan shattered in an instant, replaced by a desperate fight for a single life.
A single, devastating blow. A wound not of stone, but of bone and fury.
The bond of the hunt was absolute. A life was in peril, and they would not abandon their own, even in the face of certain death.
Their field medicine was primitive, but instinctual. Stop the bleeding and carry the wounded. The long journey back to the cave began. A desperate race against the fading light and the fading life of their friend. They returned not with a prize, but with a patient. A life hanging by a thread, a challenge for their healer. The healer looked upon the wound and knew this would be a battle not just against bleeding, but against the invisible enemy. The first critical step in any deep wound, a thorough assessment. Understanding the extent of the damage was paramount to saving a life.
Before any true healing could begin, the wound had to be cleansed. A process surprisingly familiar to modern surgical hygiene.
They understood heat's power, not for cooking, but for purification. Boiling water, the ancient ancestor of sterilization. This wasn't just washing. It was an early form of antiseptic irrigation. But cleanliness wasn't enough. They had remedies that directly attacked infection. A dark powder.
This wasn't superstition. This was early pharmacology. The earth itself provided the tools to fight microscopic invaders. To draw out impurities and promote healing, a powerful green poultice was applied. Nature's bandage, packed with healing compounds.
And then, the impossible feat, closing the wound. Primitive suturing, a testament to their surgical precision.
The skin reunited, the healing process given its best chance. A complex procedure, executed with profound skill.
The immediate crisis averted. But this was only the beginning of a long battle. A testament to the... Saving a life was more than just closing a wound. The battle against pain. But their ancient pharmacy held secrets not just for the body, but for the mind. Remedies to soothe, to calm.
She prepared a special infusion from the bark of the willow tree, releasing its hidden power into the water. This was the world's first aspirin.
A bitter taste, but powerful medicine. The bark contained salicin, a compound that modern science...
The medicine worked its magic, granting him the one thing his body needed most, the profound, healing power of sleep.
The real test came days later. Had their knowledge been enough to hold back the invisible tide of infection?
The wound was clean. The flesh was healing. A stunning success. A life truly... And the proof of their incredible skill is not just theory. It is written in the bones of our ancestors themselves.
Skeletal remains show evidence of individuals who survived catastrophic, crippling injuries, wounds they could not possibly have survived alone.
This evidence of ancient compassion tells us that they were not just survivors. They were caretakers. They were a community. But not all dangers came from the outside. The invisible invaders, sickness and fever. The healer recognized the signs. Not a wound to be stitched, but a fire within the body that had to be cooled.
Her first weapon was steam. Inhaling the vapors of specific, powerful plants was known to open the airways and clear the lungs.
The aromatic oils, released by the heat, acted as a primitive decongestant, a direct and effective...
To fight the internal fire, a different plant was needed. A special flower, known to... But they understood that healing was more than just plants. It was a battle for the spirit, a struggle that required ritual.
The combination of potent medicine and soothing ritual was a powerful one, calming the mind and allowing.
This belief in a world beyond the physical is not just speculation. In the mountains of Iraq, a Neanderthal grave.
Analysis of the soil around the skeleton revealed massive clumps of flower pollen, far more than could have occurred by chance.
Pollen from yarrow, cornflower, and hollyhock, all plants with known medicinal properties. But the greatest challenges to survival were not always from the outside world. For every new life, there was a...
Here, the healer was more than a doctor. She was a midwife, a keeper of the sacred and practical knowledge of birth, passed down through a maternal line.
Specific plants were reserved for women's health. A tea made from the leaves of the birthing tree was known to tone. The birth was a communal event, a circle of shared strength. The wisdom of the healer was...
They understood the mechanics of birth, using gravity, positioning, and herbal remedies to guide the new life into the world safely.
And then, the first cry. A sound of triumph, a defiant shout of new life.
But the danger was not over. The healer's next task was to protect the mother, using powerful plants to prevent the final act of care. Securing the bond between mother and child, the foundation of their future.
And across the ancient world, we find echoes of this reverence for birth. Figurines celebrating the life.
And so the sacred knowledge was passed on, ensuring that the path for the next generation would be just a little bit safer.
The evidence for this ancient medical knowledge isn't just a hypothetical story. It is etched into the very bones of our ancestors.
In the 1950s, deep within Shonadar Cave, archaeologists made a discovery that would forever change our...
They found the remains of an old Neanderthal man, and his bones told an incredible story of survival against impossible odds.
He had suffered a crushing blow to his head that likely blinded him in one eye. His right arm was amputated.
How could he survive? The answer is simple. He didn't survive alone. He was cared for. His survival for decades after such catastrophic injuries is profound evidence of two things. He was not a burden. He was a respected elder, a keeper of wisdom and a master toolmaker, contributing his
countenance. Even his teeth tell a story. Heavy wear on his incisors suggests he used his mouth to grip objects. The story of Shanidar I is not just a case file of ancient medicine. It is a testament to the dawn.
And this compassion, this drive to heal, was a universal trait among our ancient ancestors, a key to their...
Surviving the wound was only the first battle. The long, slow war of recovery was a challenge of a different kind, a fight against weakness.
The healer's knowledge extended beyond immediate trauma. She knew the muscles, if left dormant, would wither and die. She created a warming, stimulating salve, designed to increase blood flow and awaken the sleeping muscles.
But the most crucial medicine was movement itself. A painful, terrifying, but necessary step on the road to recovery. Day after grueling day, they forced him to walk. Each step, a victory. Each fall, a lesson.
Their knowledge was nuanced. They understood not only what to do, but when to stop, when to stimulate, and when to soothe.
They used all the tools at their disposal. The heat of the fire, the cold of the river, and the vast, living pharmacy of the earth.
The fundamental principles of healing are timeless. The need to manage inflammation, stimulate muscle, and encourage...
Weeks of pain and effort culminated in a single, triumphant moment. He could walk. He was a hunter once more.
Healed, he found a new purpose. A reminder that in these ancient communities, every member, regardless of physical limitation, had value.
But not all ailments were the result of sudden violence or infection. The slow, creeping pain of age. For the pains of age, there was no cure. But there was care. There was medicine, not to heal the wound. She prepared a powerful anti-inflammatory, a deep-heating salve from a rue known to the clan for its...
This was the dawn of palliative care. the understanding that managing pain and providing comfort was as important as curing disease.
By easing his pain, they did not just give him comfort, they preserved his purpose. They kept his wisdom and skill alive for the clan.
The knowledge of care was shared, weaving a network of compassion throughout the community, ensuring the old... And again, the bones of the past tell this story. The skeleton of an old Neanderthal found in France.
He had crippling spinal arthritis and had lost most of his teeth. To live so long, he must have been cared for.
Today, we extract and synthesize these same anti-inflammatory compounds from ancient plants.
It reveals a deep understanding that a clan's strength was not just in its hunters, but in its elders, its storytellers.
The world has changed, humanity has changed, but the ancient knowledge, the deep within the Amazon, among indigenous communities who have lived in harmony with the forest for centuries.
For the shaman, these are not just plants. They are family. They are spirits.
The knowledge is passed down, not through writing, but through a living apprenticeship, a direct, hands-on education. And their knowledge is not theoretical. For fevers, they turn to the bark of a specific tree. Generations of observation and experimentation created a pharmacy that was, and still is, urban. For the shaman, the jungle is not chaotic wilderness. It is a garden. Every plant has a name.
They found remedies in the most unexpected places. A simple fungus, a powerful coagulant.
This deep connection between healer, patient, and the natural world is a tradition that's back to the very dawn of our species.
But in the modern world, this ancient wisdom faces a new threat, not from predators, but from our own ignorance. The world has changed, humanity has changed, but the ancient knowledge, the deep within the Amazon, among indigenous communities who have lived in harmony with the forest for centuries. For the shaman, these are not just plants. They are family. They are spirits. Each leaf, the knowledge is passed down, not through writing, but through a living apprenticeship. A direct... And their knowledge is not theoretical. For fevers, they turn to the bark of a specific... Generations of observation and experimentation created a pharmacy that was, and still is. For the shaman, the jungle is not a chaotic wilderness. It is a garden. Every plant has a name. They found remedies in the most unexpected places. A simple fungus, a powerful coagulant. This deep connection between healer, patient, and the natural world is a tradition that stretches back to the very dawn. But in the modern world, this ancient wisdom faces a new threat, not from predators, but from our own ignorance. This was their library, their laboratory, their university, a repository of knowledge.
They learned through painful trial and error. Every mistake, every near-death experience became a vital...
They learned by watching, by understanding that the animals, their neighbors in this world, held their own ancient wisdom, their own pharmacopoeia. And most importantly, they learned by teaching, by passing their fragile, precious knowledge from one generation. Today, we seek our cures with machines of incredible precision, analyzing compounds, synthesizing molecules. But our ancestors had only their senses, their memory, and their courage to guide them through a world where every...
This hard-won knowledge was the invisible shield that protected the clan. It mended the broken...
But what happened when they faced a threat that their accumulated knowledge had never prepared them for? A wound of unprecedented violence? When a hunter was gored, his life bleeding out onto the cold earth, could their primitive medicine truly save him from the brink of death? The answer would test the limits of their knowledge, their courage, and their compassion. With their knowledge of the land, the clan could hunt larger, more dangerous prey.
A risk that brought great reward. Their strategy was not a blind charge, but a calculated, coordinated attack, designed to isolate a single target from the strength of the herd.
But a wounded beast is the most dangerous of all. Their plan shattered in an instant, replaced by a desperate fight for a single life.
A single, devastating blow. A wound not of stone, but of bone and fury.
The bond of the hunt was absolute. A life was in peril, and they would not abandon their own, even in the face of certain death.
Their field medicine was primitive but instinctual. Stop the bleeding and carry the wounded. The long journey back to the cave began. A desperate race against the fading light and the fading life of their friend. They returned not with a prize, but with a patient. A life hanging by a thread, a challenge for their healer. The healer looked upon the wound and knew this would be a battle not just against bleeding, but against the invisible. In the face of catastrophic injury, the healer did not panic. Her first commands were for the two.
An incredible leap of intuition. She understood that the fire which could cook meat could also cleanse a tool. Heat sterilization, the foundation of modern surgery, practiced here in a smoky cave tens of thousands of years ago.
She knew a wound would not heal if the dead flesh remained. A painful, brutal, but absolutely necessary step to prevent deadly gangrene.
To stop the bleeding, she used the earth itself. A mineral-rich clay, a powerful and then, an act of astonishing sophistication. The closing of the wound, stitch by careful stitch. This was not the work of a novice. The precision speaks of a deep anatomical knowledge and a practiced surgical hand.
The final step before dressing was to seal the wound. Honey, a powerful natural antibiotic.
A complex, multi-layered dressing, an antiseptic seal, an absorbent pad, and a protective binding. The surgery was complete. A life, pulled back from the brink by a level of medical sophistication. Saving a life was more than just closing a wound. The battle against pain, a torment that could break. But their ancient pharmacy held secrets not just for the body, but for the mind.
She prepared a special infusion from the bark of the willow tree, releasing its hidden power into the water. This was the world's first aspirin.
A bitter taste, but a powerful medicine. The bark contained salicin, a compound that modern science... The medicine worked its magic, granting him the one thing his body needed most, the profound, healing power of sleep.
The real test came days later. Had their knowledge been enough to hold back the invisible tide of infection?
The wound was clean. The flesh was healing. A stunning success, a life truly saved by the forgotten pharmacy of the past.
And the proof of their incredible skill is not just theory. It is written in the bones of our ancestors themselves.
Skeletal remains show evidence of individuals who survived catastrophic, crippling injuries, wounds they could not possibly have survived alone.
This evidence of ancient compassion tells us that they were not just survivors. They were caretakers. They were a community.
But not all dangers were sudden and violent. Some crept in slowly, an invisible poison that could weaken a clan from the inside out.
The healer saw the pattern. This was not a sickness of one, but a sickness of the many. The cause had to be something they all shared. Their life-giving river, starved by a long dry spell, had become stagnant. The water, treating the symptoms, was not enough. The clan was being poisoned with every drink. The healer knew she had to clean the water itself.
She looked to nature once more, not for a plant to cure, but for a process to imitate.
She took a lesson from the sand and combined it with a secret of the fire, the purifying power of charcoal.
A brilliant, multi-stage filter, engineered from the simple materials of her world. Pebbles, sand.
The moment of truth. Could her simple contraption truly conquer the invisible poisons in the water?
And then, a miracle. Drop by slow, clear drop, the filter worked. The water was clean.
This was a monumental leap forward. Not just healing, but public health. The dawn of...
The success of the first filter led to a monumental effort. The entire clan rallied to implement this life-saving innovation on a grander scale. The clean water, once a given, was now a precious resource, carefully filtered and distributed. The effect was transformative. The invisible sickness receded, and the vital energy of the clan slowly but surely returned. Beyond clean water, they understood the importance of waste management.
And science confirms this ancient understanding. Archaeological digs revealed designated waste areas in prehistoric
cities. Modern microbiology can now vividly illustrate the difference. Untreated water, a teeming microscopic jungle.
Today, this ancient technology is still taught in disaster relief and survival courses, a testament to its enduring simplicity and effectiveness.
Sustainable, repeatable knowledge. Not just a temporary fix, but a permanent upgrade to the clan's survival strategies. The invisible threats were conquered, not with magic, but with observation, ingenuity, and Their thriving community required better resources, pushing them into new, unexplored territories. Their focus was on the stone, their minds on the tools they could create. They had forgotten the first rule of survival. Danger always lurks. A strike from the stone itself. The perfect ambush. A lightning-fast injection of pure, unadulterated venom. This was not a wound of flesh and bone. This was a war in the blood. A race against a poison that killed from within. The twin fang marks were a death sentence. They both knew it. Without the healer's immediate intervention, his life was measured in minutes. The race began. A desperate, stumbling journey back to camp, with every heartbeat pushing the poison closer to his heart. They arrived, but the venom had arrived with them. The healer saw at once that this was a battle she might not be able to win. Her usual remedies were useless. This poison required a specific, powerful, and dangerously rare antidote. A desperate, dangerous gambit to buy precious time. A risk to her own life to slow the poison's deadly march. And so began two desperate battles. One for life, against the poison within. The quest for the cure was a vertical race against time. A perilous climb into the mountain's highest, Every handhold was a gamble, every foothold a prayer. The mountain itself was a constant, impartial, and deadly adversary. Back in the cave, the poison was winting. The hunter's life was fading. His breath... Even the sky held its own guardians. Territorial birds defending their nests added a new layer of peril to the desperate climb. Every moment mattered. Every delay, every new threat was a victory for the poison that coursed through their friends' veins. And then, the final moments. The hunter's heart faltered, and the healer fought to call his... Night fell, turning their desperate climb into a blind, terrifying struggle against the unseen face of the mountain. But the mountain held its own lights. The apprentice, her training guiding her, recognized guided by the ghostly light, they made their final ascent, their muscles screaming, their hope rekindled. They had made it. The descent was a controlled fall, a reckless gamble where speed was the only thing that mattered. Caution was a luxury they could no longer afford. Back in the cave, a single, shuddering breath. A flicker of life in the deepest darkness. They moved as one, their lives and the life of their friend bound together in this desperate, vertical race against the poison. From the vertical world back to the horizontal, their desperate sprint continued. A race against a poison that never stopped, never slept. In that moment, she was not a child, but a true healer, carrying the hope of her clan in a small leather pouch. In the cave, the waiting was an agony. Every flicker of a shadow, every gust of wind, the final stretch. Fueled by the last reserves of adrenaline and a desperate, burning hope, they pushed onward. They had done it. The cure had arrived. The race against the mountain was won. But the race against the poison was in its final, desperate seconds. The question remained, was it too late? No time for ceremony. No time for rest. The precious antidote was prepared. The antidote was potent, but getting it into a fading body, into a system shutting down, was a challenge unto itself. The clan held its breath, a collective vigil against the encroaching darkness. They had done all they— The poison fought back, a stubborn, invisible enemy. The antidote needed time to enter his system, to counteract the deadly venom. A flicker, a tiny tremor, the first sign that the antidote was working, that life was beginning to push back against the tide of death. She pressed on, encouraging the fragile spark of life to ignite into a full flame.
Modern pharmacology now understands the molecular dance. Specific plant compounds bind to venom, neutralizing it. The principle is unchanged. A race against time, a precise antidote, and the profound human instinct to—
The longest night had passed. The hunter was awake. His life, once stolen by poison, was now slowly returning to him. The flower, a symbol of extreme danger and ultimate salvation. A fragile reminder of the power of— But not all dangers came from the bite of a snake or the horn of a bison. Sometimes the most excruciating pain— A broken tooth, a common consequence of a gritty diet, had become infected. An abscess, a pocket of poison. The healer knew the signs. The swelling, the fever, the foul taste. An infection of the tooth. For this deep, internal pain, a different kind of medicine was needed. Not an herb to be brewed.
This resin, perhaps from a pine or myrrh-like tree, was rich in antiseptic and analgesic compounds. She applied the medicine directly to the source of the pain, creating a seal against the outside world and delivering a concentrated dose of its healing power.
The relief was almost immediate. The resin's analgesic properties, similar to eugenol found in modern clover. But numbing the pain was a temporary fix. The infection, the true killer, had to be fought. A powerless.
And the fossil record is riddled with evidence of this silent killer. Dental abscesses were a common and— Incredibly, some fossil teeth show telltale marks of prehistoric dentistry, evidence of our ancestors actively—
The healer's multi-pronged attack on the infection began to work. The pain receded, the swelling subsided.
Gashed legs, raging fevers, the perils of childbirth, agonizing infections, their medical notes.
But this sophisticated knowledge, this forgotten pharmacy, was not lost forever. Its echo—
Today, scientists are working with indigenous communities, racing to document and preserve.
They collect samples, not as a conquest, but as a collaboration, bringing the wisdom of the ancients into the language of modern science. From the heart of the forest, the samples travel to the heart of the laboratory, where their ancient secrets can be unlocked molecule by molecule.
Using advanced chemistry, scientists can isolate the specific active compounds that give these plants their incredible medicinal power.
Listeners, and what they find is astonishing. The yellow root used for millennia to treat joint pain contains The method has changed from a stone to a sterile lab, but the medicine and the wisdom remain the same.
In our own pharmacies today, the echoes of their knowledge are all around us, a testament to an ancient science we are owning.
The validation of ancient wisdom doesn't end there. Consider the simple willow bark, used for millennia to—
Because within that bark lies a chemical compound, salicin, the natural blueprint for what is now the most widely used pain reliever in the world.
Aspirin, a direct descendant of the prehistoric healer's simple tea, a testament to a wisdom that was thousands of years ahead of its time.
And what of the simple moss she used to pack the wound? For centuries, its incredible properties were dismissed as mere folklore.
But modern science reveals the truth. Under a microscope, sphagnum moss reveals a structure of hollow
processors. More incredibly, the moss is naturally acidic and antiseptic. Today, it is used again in adverse.
Perhaps most remarkably was her use of honey. Long seen as just a sweetener, our ancestors knew its origins.
We now know that honey is a powerful, broad-spectrum antibiotic. It creates an environment.
Today, medical-grade honey is used in hospitals around the world to treat the most stubborn, antibiotic-resistant. It begs the question, what other secrets, what other cures did our ancestors know? And more importantly, what have we forgotten? The knowledge of our ancestors was a library, and every species, every plant, every fungus was a book. But today, we are burning the library before we have even read the books. Every single day, we lose species that...
When a species goes extinct, its unique chemical secrets, its potential to heal, are lost.
And with the loss of these plants, we are also losing the human knowledge, the ancient oral tradition.
Our modern world values uniformity over diversity. We have replaced the rich, chaotic...
Our ancestors survived because they had access to this incredible biodiversity. Their pharmacy was vast.
Today, we are desperately trying to save the last copies of these books, storing seeds in frozen.
But there is still hope. Around the world, people are fighting to protect and restore our planet's precious biodiversity.
Because they understand that every species, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, is a vital thread in the great web of life.
And within this web, within this restored library, may lie the cures for the diseases of tomorrow. But the wisdom of our ancestors was not just about what plants to use. It was about a way of life.
How can we learn from these ancient practices for our own holistic well-being? The first step is simple. Their diet was the foundation of their health. A rich, diverse tapestry of whole, unprocessed foods.
We can learn from their table. To choose diversity, to eat foods that are grown, not manufactured.
Their lives were a constant state of natural movement. Walking, climbing, lifting, running. To rediscover this joy of movement, to engage with the world not just with our minds, but with our bodies, they understood the power of simple remedies for common ailments. A calming tea to soothe the mind, a fragrant leaf to ease a headache.
We can reclaim this wisdom, to learn the gentle power of the plants that grow all around us, to find our own simple, natural cures.
And perhaps their most powerful medicine of all was the clan itself. The social bond, the comfort of community.
To reconnect with our tribe, to share our stories, to find our strength in each other.
The knowledge of our ancestors was a library, and every species, every plant, every friend.
But today, we are burning the library before we have even read the books. Every single day, we lose species.
When a species goes extinct, its unique chemical secrets, its potential to heal, are lost with it.
And with the loss of these plants, we are also losing the human knowledge, the ancient oral traditions.
Our modern world values uniformity over diversity. We have replaced the rich, chaotic...
Our ancestors survived because they had access to this incredible biodiversity.
Today, we are desperately trying to save the last copies of these books, storing seeds in frozen vaults.
But there is still hope. Around the world, people are fighting to protect and restore our planet's precious biodiversity.
Because they understand that every species, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, is a vital thread in the great web of life.
And within this web, within this restored library, may lie the cures for the diseases of tomorrow.
And so, our story returns to them. One small clan, in one small valley.
They learned that the greatest strength was not in the sharpest spear,
but in the gentle hand that heals.
They learned that a clan's true wealth was not in the meat it hunted, but in the health and laughter of its children.
And they learned to share their wisdom, to paint their stories on the walls of time, ensuring
this was their greatest secret, that survival was not a battle to be won once, but a gift to be passed from one generation to the next.
They built a world not of stone and bone, but of community, of compassion, and of a shared, sacred knowledge.
Their story, like their fire, was a single, defiant spark of warmth and intelligence in
a spark that was repeated in 1,000 other caves, in 1,000 other clans, across 1,000,000.
And on this lonely, fragile planet, adrift in a sea of stars, they discovered the most profound truth of all. That the greatest medicine, the most powerful cure for a world of pain, is the story of our past is not written in stone, but in the leaves of the forest, in the memory of the earth.
It is a story of a sacred trust, passed from hand to hand, a chain of wisdom that
It is a story of resilience, a testament to a body that can heal from the most grievous of wounds, and a spirit that refuses to be broken.
It is a reminder that in the most hostile of places, nature often hides its most powerful and precious gifts.
And a lesson that the greatest cures are not always for the sick, but are the protections we build for the healthy, for the community.
This ancient story is not over. The forgotten pharmacy is still out there, its shelky. It is a story of us, of our weakness, our curiosity, our intelligence.
It is a reminder that on this small, fragile world, our greatest resource has never been what we can take from it,
but what we can learn from it, and the wisdom we can cultivate together.
The forgotten pharmacy is all around us. We only need to remember how to listen.
The validation of ancient wisdom has sparked a new kind of hunt, not for food, but for the molecules that can save men.
Today, scientists are working alongside indigenous cultures, who are the living libraries of this ancient knowledge.
The journey from a single leaf to a finished pill is a monumental one, often taking years of painstaking readings.
Often, the greatest breakthroughs come from the humblest of sources. For centuries, the rosy periwinkle of
traditional healers noted its unusual properties, a clue that led modern science to take a closer look, unlocking a secret that would change the world. Within that simple flower, scientists discovered two powerful alkaloids, vincristine and vinblastine. These compounds became two of our most effective chemotherapy drugs, turning a near-certain death sentence for childhood leukemia into from a single flower, a global medical revolution. The ancient wisdom of the forest, now a mass producer. It is a powerful reminder that these unique ecosystems, each with their own evolutionary history.
And it begs the question, what other miracles, what other cures for cancer, for Alzheimer's, for the plagues of our own time?
But the search for new medicines from nature comes with a profound responsibility. The knowledge of these plants.
For too long, the wealth of nature and traditional knowledge has been extracted without proper recognition or recompense.
The multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical industry often benefits immensely, while the communities who safeguarded the original wisdom remain in poverty. But a new era is dawning. International agreements and ethical guidelines are being established, striving for.
This means that if a new drug is developed from traditional knowledge, the profits are shared with the originating communities.
It's about empowering indigenous communities to be partners, not just providers, ensuring their knowledge continues to flourish for future generations.
Ultimately, the lessons from our ancient past are not just about finding new medicines. They are about remembering who we are.
We are part of this living system, not above it, but interconnected. Our health, our very survivals.
To harm the earth is to harm ourselves. To heal the earth is to heal humanity.
The journey back to true well-being begins not in a lab, but in a profound reconnection with the living, breathing.
The story of our past is not written in stone, but in the leaves of the forest, in the memory of the earth.
A trust built on painful trial and error, where every mistake, every near-death experience. A trust built on patient observation, by understanding that the animals, our neighbors in this world,
and a trust built on teaching, by passing fragile, precious knowledge from one generation to the next.
It taught them that in the most hostile of places, nature often hides its most powerful and precious gifts.
And it showed them that the greatest cures are not always for the sick, but are the protections we build for the healthy, for the community.
It is a story of us, of our weakness, our curiosity, our intelligence, and
it is a reminder that on this small, fragile world, our greatest resource has never been what we can take from it, but what we can learn from it, and the wisdom we can cultivate together.